we'll see what's up. This will be a little bit more tricky. You know, my hope was we'd get a gap up and then we could just short the shit out of everything. With the flat open, frankly, everything is on the table. We could bounce, but I'm still leaning towards, this thing bleeding out a little bit. Probably, till they announce whatever, fake stimulus that measures they're going to do. It's going to be a little bit tricky today. Yesterday was obviously the bleeder day. In trading, there's usually like one trend day a week, and you got to kind of load up on those days and make sure that, you're able to kind of get enough juice for the rest of the week. We could chop around today, but there's enough volatility where we'll be okay. So, moral of the story, today we might be longing, we might be shorting, we don't necessarily know, but it is just a destruction out there. This is a day traders only market. You can't really be swing trading anything unless you're in like kind of the reopen themes. Unless you're in the reopen themes. What I mean by reopen themes, the pockets of strength are in RCL. So like this is actually looking like decent, right? You got like a nice flag pattern. It's still got to tighten up here, but this has got a nice level here. So like you can't swing trade anything, but these are the pockets of strength that are holding up if you just need something to kind of, wet your pickle on, something like this. It looks okay. Now the thing is, like, if you're depending on RCL or CCL to fucking make your bank and your Porsche payments, then you're gonna have a lot of trouble, right? You got CCL. Like, this is also another one. This is a pocket of strength. What else? You got Boeing. Boeing's got a nice. You can see this thing's already up 2% today. You got a nice rounding pattern on Boeing here. You got this kind of pullback, and you're starting to round, and it looks like, you got kind of a 240 break that's coming up imminently. And if it does, then you have yourself a lot of room to squeeze up. This is probably more of an IRA type of trade, but you've got a location here, maybe a 15, 16 point stop loss, and, you might be able to get this thing back up into 320-ish zone. If you're trying to like do tech right now, then that's not going to work, right? Because the tech is what's getting smoked. Yesterday tech was down 3%, where the rest of the stuff like the SPY was down just a little bit less, and it's still sitting on the 50 SMA. The Dow was actually green, or slightly down yesterday. So those are like, you're still holding over supports on these, but underneath the scene of the indexes, there's been a lot of carnage, namely in tech. So if you're going to long something or you're going to try to swing trade something, it's probably better to do either the reopen plays like CCL, RCL, Boeing. I think CCL is too extended though. And then you have oil stocks or commodity plays. You have these things just flying around. Man, I had fucking so many shares of this thing at $15. And I sold it for like 2 points. Shit. This is commodity plays have been super, very strong. They're not sexy, right? Because you're like, it's oil stock. But they are like going up. I mean, they will. I mean, when they're turds, and when they want to go, they go. So you have like a lot of kind of stuff like this. You have this EOG. This is another one that's like you got to push and a pull back into support, and you're remounting the 90 minutes. Not sexy, right? It's like, EOG resources, but it's got to look to it. And these are the ones that are holding up. So you have like your reopen stocks, then you have your reinflation stocks, which is like your oil and your natural gas. And there's a couple of these that are still holding up. I think they could go any day. These are definitely more swing traders versus day traders. Everybody's been asking me for some kind of longer term picks if there's anything to swing out there. You have Valley here. This is, I believe, Australian-ish. Either that or South American, but it's like iron ore commodities, right? So you got You got a trend line break here at 1830. Now you can see like this is not the fastest moving stock, but what it will do is like over like on a day by day basis, but what it will do over the course of multiple weeks is give you a good return if it breaks, right? So like on a day by day basis, yeah, it might move up like 50 cents or $1 a day, but over a couple weeks, you'll get yourself a nice push. So this one looks actually like it's holding up pretty well. I've got a price alert set here if it just breaks this trend line. This is more of like an IRA or swing type of trade. It'll be a little bit slower. Same thing. This is ArcelorMittal. This is a steel company. I believe the CEO of this company is an Indian, which is awesome. That gives it like double juice. So you got another one here that you got a nice sweet spot on. And this is another one, like the ATR on it's only $1, right? The average true range of 14 days. So you can't day trade it. You can't day trade a stock, it's only got $1 range. But if you give it a couple weeks, you can see like it has the ability to go. So those are your themes in terms of things that you could potentially hold overnight. On the day trade side, it's a little bit more difficult. Yesterday it was short. Oh man, look at this thing. Fucking A. Now let's take a look and just see like what are the earnings plays or PR plays out there. We'll see if we got anything that's got like some good news on it. I would really like when the market is flushing, for me personally, guys, I stay away from these kind of like these small cap names. These are like, you probably saw a lot of them yesterday. These turn into like pump and dump scenarios where, these things pop up and then they just roll back over. When the market is like really in that kind of flux where you're getting a lot of selling, you don't really want to, like I personally, like I don't want to load up on some small cap stock when there's a lack of liquidity already in the market. That type of play is best when the market is not only at highs, but you have like a big speculative fever where like everybody's just chasing the shit out of everything. And then that's when you really can go into these kind of names. So like something like this, Skeet or something, it looks okay, but not really, my cup of tea. I think when the market gets more in flux, you want to think like more liquidity. It looks like Donkey Kong UFC rollout partnership to promote games, and betting products. Frankly, this is one of the few stocks that is holding up pretty well here. You're up about 4%. Yesterday, you had a pullback into the breakout spot. I think as long as this kind of 64, 65 zone holds up, that this is actually something that we could still keep trading back and forth. I'd wait for maybe Donkey Kong is a little bit of a thicker stock. You can see the float is 733 million shares on this. So it's a little bit of a thicker stock, but you can day trade it. The thing to do on this one is what you want to do on this one is hit it on pullbacks. I'd wait for the first pullback, see if it holds. And if it can, then I think we'll have a shot on it and we can go and dicker and deal. But this is what I mean by like you don't want to be buying any small caps here, right? Like this thing was pumped yesterday and it gaps up like 33%. And there's always there's always somebody that's got big city dreams in their eyes. Like, oh my God, I'm going to catch the next GME or whatever. And then, your hopes and dreams die very, very quickly. You got to leave those type of things alone. Good. Snow. You're getting some gap ups in like some of these fucking names because like Kathy Jones or whatever her name is like bought some shares of this. I never heard of this lady till this year. Who knows? Some lady buys 300,000 shares of PLTR. Like that means anything. But I know a lot of you guys have been asking about this. It looks okay to me, but just because Kathy Jones buys a couple shares of PLTR doesn't mean, that don't mean anything to me. Now, on a technical side, you can go in, like, if this thing starts, you're starting to build out some levels, and you'll need the market, you'll need the market to really, you'll need the market to give you feedback before you can do it. You're kind of building out a level over here around 26, along with the 9 EMA. So if it pops over, maybe you have it, but like you have, it's in a downtrend. Tech stinks right now, right? Tech stinks. So you could go in and try this, but for me, like that's just tech is tough right now. Like you're seeing every single tech stock get smoked out. Now I will say it's basing out, and the good thing on this on the technical side is that yesterday it didn't necessarily get smoked out. But like these things can be often sell opportunities when the market stinks. So I think there's probably just easier plays out there. BLM, civil unrest themes, pass. Too gimmicky for me. Let's take a look. Junk. All right, cool. All right, so let's get into this. There's not that many. By the way, this AAL is probably another one that you could keep day trading. This is a reopen theme too. These are like airlines think to trade though. If anybody has ever traded in airlines, you'll know like it ain't no fun. It ain't no fun. Yeah, why don't she just put a PR out there? Why don't she just put the PR out there so she can get rid of all her shares? That's what I do. Hey, I'm buying 50 million shares. In my other fund, I'm dumping my shares. That's the right way to do it. Skeet. Let me see here. Skeet. Damn. Look, this is a REIT. It moves okay. There's got more than enough volume on it. I think it could work. It's gonna have some range on it. I don't like this type of play in a shitty market just because you can see the range on this makes it really hard to control this, right? And so like if you're gonna get too much range, when you have too much range in a stock, your trading skills have to be utterly elite. You got to have not only a fast brain, but a fast finger, fast broker, fast charting. You got to have everything, right? You got to have the boots and the coots to really be able to trade these kind of stocks and do it fast. So if you've got that kind of brain power, right? You got an i9 in your brain, then go for it. But for some of you guys running, an old Pentium computer, it's not going to work so much. So this is going to be one of those that has just a little bit of, it's going to have some range. I dicker and deal with it, but, not my ideal type of play. Let's go into just some ideas for today that I think could work. If tech rolls over again, ZM has been fading on the green to red nonstop with pretty good range. Any pop in this, we could probably fade it again. Only if tech rolls over. You've got a level here. It finally broke under the 200 SMA, and you've got a level that's been going back for a little bit of time. Only if the market rolls, we could probably refade this thing. Only if the market rolls. Roku, there's a good shot this may have just started its dump. Yesterday, monster cock trend on it. Now you got yourself a flat open on this. This is another one that I think is going to have probably a little bit more downside. The issue is going to be, does the market squeeze or does the market roll off? Yesterday was an obvious short. Today, I think we're going to have to play things both ways. So I think these are like two candidates for a short if we need them, but we just got to be a little bit careful. If we need some bounces, right? This run is sitting at the 200 SMA. If we're going to try to bounce some stocks, let's find some ones on some big supports that we could bounce. Like this run's come from 100 to 50. You've got multiple levels of support here at the 200 SMA. This has got a shot to bounce if the market holds. That's the big hairy butt of, kind of what's happening, right? Is, when in a hot market, you don't have to pay attention to the market. When the market is trending, you don't have to look at market indexes. You don't have to do anything. You rip and dip. Like it's like you see a setup, you just take it. you don't necessarily worry about what the market is doing. But what happens when the market structure changes, all of a sudden everything is dependent on the market, and you have to really trade around it quite a bit. So I think run could be a potential. It could be a potential bounce if the market shows it. Airbnb is another one. Like, they had their earnings out and they popped to 214. Now you're pulling back to the 50 SMA. That may be possibly something that could hold. I'm not feeling that good about trying to bounce these techs, though. You know, I'm not feeling that good about them. And then, you know, another one that I think, you know, for more speculative, you know, you've got FSR. It ran up to 32 bucks. It's sitting on the 9 EMA. This is a day trading stock only. This stock is probably a turd for all we know. You know, we don't really know anything about this thing, but it's had huge momentum. It's still got a good volume pattern on it. I think if the market pushes, we can bounce this off the 9 EMA. If the market pushes, we've got Baidu sitting right on its 50 SMA. This thing was at 350. You've had a nice, I wouldn't say orderly pullback. We were shorting the shit out of this thing yesterday. Man, I had 1,000 shares of this thing. Covered a little bit early. Shit. This thing has got a huge amount of range. It may need one more push down, and then I think we're going to be able to probably bounce this thing, and we'll be okay on it. Look, these Bitcoin stocks are getting sold off still. I would probably, the charts look okay, but I don't know if we have like any necessary setup on them. They're looking okay, but there's like not anything into them. I would really stick with a couple things. Number one is like find the stocks that are holding up. Find the stocks that are holding up. So that's your reinflation trades, right? And your reopen trades. So that's oil, gas, commodities. Then you got your, you know, I wouldn't say movie theaters, but you go in with your, right, hotels. You go in with your cruise line, so on and so forth. We could still short tech. And then, of course, the last bucket will be stocks that are sitting on big support. I think we can be good. I didn't see any good earnings plays out there. Am I missing anything? Let's see. SDGR. Man, see, this stock has got too much. Schrodinger reports, wider net loss, higher revenue issues. You know, the issue on this one is it's pulling back right to like a big support, and it's a thin little bastard. Probably pass. Okta. You know what? Yo, Mo, I got so much Monocoin, and I own like 15 plots at Decentraland. I have had it for like 2 years, though. Sat on it forever. Hey, this Okta's got some earnings out. This is not a good time for tech to have bad earnings out. You know, Jay Smooth, I'm not exactly sure. I never really think about stocks in that particular manner. Right under the 200. Let's add that thing. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, you got some analysts, blah, blah, blah. Acquisition, micro expansion, blah, 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 blah. Okta swings the fourth quarter. Not a good time for tech. I would add that on the watch list for potential ORB. My worry on this is it's going to trade a little bit thin. SOS, junk, 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 junk. See, like stuff like this bingo, like this stuff was so hot, right? In a hot market, you can just kind of, you know, you shoot first, ask questions later. When the market changes, right, you have to ask those questions. What am I buying? You know, so these turds end up being just turds. That's how they all are. Tiger, you know, I put an alert on this one at like 18. This one is, man, I had so many shares. This thing at $6. I put an alert at 18. You know, if the market goes, you may catch a bounce in it. Otherwise, I'd probably leave that alone. That's a little bit specky too. Think liquidity, liquidity, liquidity today. Yesterday, you guys probably saw, man, the fucking liquidity was awful. Even on stocks that were doing 10, 15, 20 million shares were illiquid, right? So if you're looking at something that was doing like, is going to do like 1 million shares or something like that, it's not going to work. CCIV, no, you know the drill. This will bounce, if the market bounces. If the market doesn't bounce, it's going to keep fading off maybe into the 10s. That's just the name of the game. This is a no swing environment for tech, for speculation, till we get confirmation. One thing to remember with swing trades, it's not about getting the lowest price possible. It's about getting into a spot where you have little risk, but it's easy. Meaning it doesn't matter if you buy it up, right? It doesn't matter if you buy it up. If you buy something that's cheap, but you have to sit on it for months, then who cares, right? I'd rather buy something that's more expensive when it actually turns around, hold it for a lot less and have less risk. Like this looks cheap, but we don't know where it bleeds off into. Yeah, we don't know where it bleeds off into. So let's just go back through this. Our buckets, right? We got reopen, reinflation, we're short tech, and if we need to long the market, then we will look for stocks that are sitting on support, like Run, like Baidu. If you want to be speculative, you can even throw a CCIV. Skills is another one. Those are totally fine, but you will need the market to give you a kiss to get into them. You'll need the market to give you a little kiss to get in. You can see we're a flat open right now, so we don't know exactly what was going on. For my plan had been if the market gapped up, say 1%, we just short the shit out of all of it, right? We just short the shit out of all of it. But that's not the case. We got a flat open right now. Day trading can be a lot more tricky when the market's in flux. When the market is hot, we don't have to look at the index. We just buy and do what we got to do. This is going to be a little bit more tricky. Let's go have some fun. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Personal bounce. Personal. I think if we see any strength, we fade it off at some point. That's the list. I'm sticking to it, guys. Let's do what we do, which is the do. Hey, airballs. Thanks for the gift. Holy shit, this thing is cool. I didn't know what it was. I had to Google it. I'm getting too old. I had to Google it. I didn't know what it was. It's cool as hell. All right, let's go have some fun.